This is Chapter 3, Unit 5. Let's talk about central tendency and shape. There are two main types of distributions. The first one is a symmetrical distribution. One side is a mirror of the other. So if you plotted out a distribution of scores and you had a graph of it and on a sheet of paper, if you could draw a line down the middle of the paper and fold it, or look at the left side of the paper and the right side of the paper, they would look exactly a mirror image of each other. You can have multimodal and symmetrical distributions. Think of two camel humps. Well, you could still fold the paper down the middle and the left side would still be equal to the right side. You could have three humps. The line down the middle would go through the middle hump, but that's okay. The left side of the distribution would still equal the right side of the distribution. As long as there are mirror images of each other, it's called a symmetrical distribution. The other option we have are skewed distributions, where one side has most of the scores, this is called a body, and the other side has very few scores, which is called a tail. So let's look at three different symmetrical distributions here. The one thing to notice about all three of these distributions is that the mean and the median are always in the center. So the first distribution I'm going to show you is a normal distribution. It looks like a normal curve. If you drew a line down the middle, you notice it would be symmetrical. The left side looks like the right side. And the mean, the median, and the mode are all exactly in the middle of the distribution. All right, let's look at B, which is a bimodal distribution. This is where we have two humps, sort of like camel humps here. And there are two different modes. However, the mean and median are still in the middle, in the center of the distribution. And that line in the center is your mirror. So the left side of the graph looks exactly like the right side of the graph. They're symmetrical. All right, the last distribution is called rectangular because there's no mode. Because all the scores in your distribution have exactly the same frequency. There's either one of each score, or maybe there's two of each score, or maybe there's 10 of each score. But every score in your distribution, if it has the exact same frequency, there is no mode. And that's okay for there not to be a mode. It's just called a rectangular distribution. However, there is always a mean and median. And again, for all symmetrical distributions, the mean and median is always in the center. Okay, let's look at skewed distributions. So measures of central tendency for skewed distributions. Let's look at the first graph. This is a positively skewed. Remember, the skewness is determined by the tail. So in the positive skewed, notice the body's on the left, and the big hump where the mode is located in is on the left side, and the tail is off on the right. And remember that the mean is always pulled toward the tail in a distribution. So whether we're talking about this positive skewed distribution or we're talking about the negative skewed distribution, the mean is closest to the tail. The median is almost always in the middle. Occasionally the median can go closer to the mode and maybe hop on the other side, but that's very, very rare. Be a specific data set. So just remember, the mean is always pulled toward the tail, and the mode is always at the body at the peak, and the median most likely will always be in the middle. Learning check 1. Make sure to answer the learning check problems and pause the video while you do so, and then turn it back on when you're ready to hear the answer. So for this problem, for a distribution of scores, it says the mean is equal to the median, and what is the most likely shape of this distribution? Okay, symmetrical, positive skew, or negative skew, or impossible to determine. Well, we know that when the mean and median are equal, it is always symmetrical. Here's learning check 2. For a positively skewed distribution with the mode of x equals 20 and a median of x equals 25, what's the most likely value for the mean? Well, let's think about this problem. The answer would have to be greater than 25. Because if the mode is 20, remember that's where the body is, and the mean is pulled the opposite direction, closer to the tail. So if the median is 25, that means the tail and the mean are going to have to be much greater than that. Okay, so it's going to be greater than 25. Learning check problem 3. For a positively skewed distribution, what's the most probable order for the 3 measures of central tendency from smallest to largest? Think in terms of the x-axis from smallest to largest, going from left to right. Okay, so again, when you have a positively skewed distribution, the mode is first because the body is on the left. The median would be in the middle, and the mean would be on the right. So that's the most probable order. The answer would be D.